want to thank Tony for having us here tonight, my most famous client, and I want to thank him for the honor of allowing me to represent him. I also want to thank Tony for teaching me how to get results for the rest of my clients, because without Tony, what would I be? Thank you, Tony.
I wanted to take the next 10 minutes and really appreciate some people, and that's going to be most of you standing in this room. Many of our relationships go back 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 years, and thank you for being here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about my history. In the early 90s, when I was working for Ann as a contractor, my company was a tier 2 supplier. Some of you know that, some of you don't. What that meant is there was major agencies like she worked for called Ross Roy Communications. There was Bozell, BBD&O, Omnicom, Imagination out of London. Some of you know this. And my company was a tier 2 supplier. And I started my career in this business in the training world, training for Ann. And I couldn't figure out how to get my fees up a little bit. And so I had a ceiling. Does anybody ever have a ceiling on your income? Yeah. And so I decided to sell projects, and so Chrysler ended up giving me millions of dollars to help them merge with Daimler over time. But my fees were still stunted. And so what I did is I said, I've got to look for best practices. And I said, who can get your fees up? And so I started noticing that people had a higher celebrity would get their fees up. Right, Michael? Right, Larry? Right, Larry? I mean, think about the celebrity. So I decided to look into doing TV, and I started my first TV program. And then I realized you have to show up and put makeup on, have an earpiece, a producer, right, Buzz? And has to prep you. And I'm like going, that's not the life I want to live. So I looked around at other people, and the other way to do it, if you think about it, the other way to do it is with books. And so what I decided to do is to take the next 3 decades of my life now and to pour into books, and that's why you're here tonight, because of the book business. I believe books can be an art and a tool. I believe they can be a hobby and a profit, and I believe they can be a gift, and I've got a gift for everybody. I want to have a special thank you to my guest of honor, my 2 daughters. I'd like to give them a hand. This is specifically for Paige and Dr. Michael. Thank you so much for all the photography you did. Let's give her a hand, please, guys. Thank you so much. And this is my beautiful daughter, Brooke, and her husband, Brett, who's not so beautiful, but he's an incredible man. And then my beautiful wife, Tammy. Paige is my photographer. She does photography, primarily people, and I talked her into doing product. And my other daughter, her older sister, is into branding. And I got a little bit of her time. She keeps her schedule so busy, but she's carved out some time. Of course, I had to up the pay to make that happen, right? Worked out there. She's such a negotiator, and her sister's a little bit different. She said, Dad, I'll just do it for you. Don't tell her, Paige, but I paid you double. No, I'm just kidding. So I believe books can go where you can't go. Do you guys believe that? And they can do things you can't do. And so how many of you believe books are pretty powerful, right? And if you probably wouldn't be here if you didn't believe that.
said, Tony taught me everything I know. I never got results till I met Tony.